After roughly 2 weeks of playing ZenlessZoneZero, I finally finished pretty much everything I want to do in the game. And with that, I've reached level 50, which is the big milestone and features a lot of big changes to the game. Today, I'm going to break down all of these changes and what exactly you can expect. Let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is specifically the basic materials that you have access to now. And when you're level 40, you get 10 to 15 of the senior investigator logs, while also getting 30 to 55 of these official investigator logs. Once you hit level 50, however, instead of being given more of these blue official investigator logs, you're actually given more of these senior investigator logs, roughly 5 more, which does feel like a side upgrade, but the opportunity to be given 20 does feel pretty good in the grand scheme of things. The same can be seen for the WEXP changes, and now, as you can see from this, you have the potential to get 20 to 25. The investigation specialization and the W engine specialization may not feel that impactful, however, since most of the time these are going to be the resources that you have the most of. However, for bounty specialization, you actually go from 112.5k dennies to now 125,000 total. So you do gain about 12.5k more dennies every 100 energy, but I understand that, especially if you aren't refreshing, you may not have a dennies problem, but if you are refreshing, this is probably something nice. Finally, if we take a look at the plating specialization for 40, what we're given here is 15 to 20 of the ether plating agents, and we have 45 to 50 of the crystallized plating agents in its place at specifically level 40. Once level 50, this jumps up to 20 to 25 of the ether plating agents, and you lose a few of the crystallized plating agents, but you do gain more opportunities to get the ether ones. So you may be thinking to yourself at this point, well, Connor, this doesn't seem that crazy. You basically have an additional chance to get the purple or the higher tier material in exchange for having a lower baseline. And I could see in some cases how it might be annoying if you end up getting only 15 when you were already formally guaranteed to get 15 beforehand. But wait till you see the agent promotions, because this is where things change drastically. Now, of course, this is going to be the same across the board, but as you could tell, formerly at level 40 and below, when you were doing activities like this, you were guaranteed 15 to 20 of these blue seals, and you were guaranteed 0 to 5 of these advanced materials. Once you hit level 50, however, things change, and it's really significant because now you are guaranteed a singular chip every single time that you basically clear the content. So while your advanced offense certification seals did go down, you now are guaranteed 5 pioneer seals every single time, which not only saves you dennies if you plan on converting upwards, but it also just feels good when you can guaranteed get 5 seals for 100 energy. This, of course, is compared to what you got before, which is anywhere between 0 to 5. Maybe you got 1, maybe you got 2 in the past. So now a follow-up to that thought is, okay, well, the promotion is okay, or that's decent, but you only get to promote 1 time, right? What about the other materials? Well, thankfully, that's actually the case for literally everything else in the game. As you can see right now, even for the polarizer tests and looking for these specialized attack components, this is the exact same case where you now have 5 of these specialized attack components guaranteed at the expense of a few less of these blues. But this isn't even a range like where before you had 20 to 25 with the EXP. This is just a guaranteed 5 of these epic level materials. This feels pretty good in my opinion, because now you can kind of calculate out exactly how many purples you need and plan ahead in a much more constructive and less RNG manner. What actually ends up taking the cake here for me is the fact that you do actually also have this guaranteed epic level material concept applied to your skill materials as well. If you want to upgrade the skills of your Ellen, your Juyen, any characters like that, at level 50, you are just guaranteed one of these specialized physical chips, and depending on what character you end up farming for, you may only end up needing to farm for, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days, which sounds bad at first, I agree. However, compared to some of the other gacha games in the market, whether that's Nikkei, Counterside, Epic 7, any one that you can think of, you may spend weeks or even months trying to farm out the materials that you're looking for, so this is a welcome change. Now, before you mention it, I know that some of these systems and the scalings are represented already in games like Star Rail, or some elements of it will be taken from a game like Genshin. That does not take away from how it feels though, especially since unlike a game like Star Rail or unlike a game like Genshin, the actual max level cap of this game, from what I can tell right now, is 60. And ta-da, surprise, spoiler alert, whatever you want to call it, level 60 is confirmed to be the max level of the characters as far as I could tell right now. There is no button, unlike with my Kaleda, to continue upgrading. So confirmed, 60 is the highest level in the game right now. Now, as you can see from my characters, I did end up leveling my Grace, aka one of my main DPS, alongside her weapon, and I did the same for Ellen because, of course, this Shark Lady does an insane amount of damage. But this is a great segue to talk about our core skill enhancements, because although you may be looking at this and going, oh my god, wait, Connor, now you can upgrade her core skill enhancement, she can can now get 4.8% crit rate, there's a problem. Now this material right here, the higher dimensional data, murderous obituary, this expert challenge ends up giving you now 5 materials and 2500 dennies, which is cut off, but this is totally fine, and honestly being guaranteed 5 and means that before, for the skill that I was trying to upgrade prior, I would only need 3 runs to unlock the core skill. But what I really want to emphasize on is that the Notorious Hunt material, aka the Ferocious Grip specifically for Ellen, did not have its material increased at all. Now I understand that it is definitely the norm in a lot of cases for you to only be able to farm out a couple times, or it'll take time for you to unlock core skills, but keep in mind that even at the max level that I'm seeing right now, which is literally 65 for the challenge level of this content, you gain 1 weekly material for a total of potentially 3, and as you see from these 2 core skills, I need a total of 7, which means that it'll take you 3 weeks to even get these core skill enhancements here, and that's not including any additional materials that you need to farm out for when it comes to the basics, the assists, the special attacks, the chains, etc. Now, regardless of which side you stand on, if you think this is ridiculous or not, here are some things to consider. Number 1, the weekly materials cost no energy, which is technically nice, but number 2, it does feel a little bit bad that you will likely need to spend 3 weeks, or you're gonna have to spend way more time pre-farming or preparing for the character that you want to invest in, specifically for your Notorious Hunt, or else you're not going to be able to unlock their core skill, which in a lot of cases is super high value for these characters. Now, as I kind of spoiled a little bit earlier, for the expert challenge, you do go from 4 materials here to 5 once you reach level 50, and we did see that you do gain a bit more materials from doing the Notorious Hunt, but not in a meaningful way. So then it's finally time to talk about something that I didn't expect to get changed, and that's going to be the routine cleanup. So if you're familiar with the level that you unlocked, the guaranteed 2 golds, if you aren't familiar with it already, you unlocked the 3rd stage of routine disc cleanup, aka the level 50 challenge level for this activity at Internet level 45. But since the progression of unlocking content was 35 and then 45, a lot of people believe that you wouldn't unlock the newest level of the routine cleanup until level 55, which admittedly would take a long time, but actually at level 50, you do unlock the max level of the routine cleanup as well, aka the level 60 challenge level. Now, speaking from experience, there isn't a guarantee to get 3 gold discs, which is likely what you would have expected from the next level of the routine cleanup, but rather I noticed that now you are guaranteed 2 golds with the chance for a 3rd gold. This is really huge for those of you trying to gear up and farm out characters, but there's a really important conversation we need to have when it comes to pre-farming, farming, and what you should spend your energy on. Speaking as someone that has refreshed, and of course I'm not suggesting that any of you guys have to refresh, the actual pacing of how frequently I need to farm out for materials is actually quite high. Now, you might have noticed again that a lot of skills, like even my Grace's abilities right now, despite being level 60 already, are not upgraded to level 10, and I don't even have the core skills for my Grace or my Ellen unlocked at the moment. This is primarily because I haven't pre-farmed out a lot of the materials I need for this, because I was trying to level up or improve the level of my supports so that they could actually be useful in fights. However, if I could go back and give advice to myself prior to doing all the farming and upgrading of these other characters, even farming out disc drives for them, I would definitely suggest that as you get closer and closer towards certain breakpoints, aka the 40, the 45, the 50, I would definitely suggest you start pre-farming out materials for characters that you are definitely going to be using as your main DPS. For me personally, as I took a look at the stat increase and saw how much you gain from this, take a look at the increase in multipliers and total damage that you gain when you level up your skill enhancements. These are significant, these feel really good, and personally I wish that I had pre-farmed a little bit more instead of just farming for my disc drives, although I was already level 45. Something that you also might have noticed is that I did end up leveling up both my Ellen and her signature to level 60 because the stat increase that you gain and gaining access to the additional crit rate was huge, and I can see a significant increase in damage for my Ellen specifically, but none of this would have been possible without me pre-farming out in advanced. Now, I know this is probably going to be very difficult, especially for casuals or free-to-plays to hear, because you're likely just trying to get a single set of usable disc drive gear at this point. However, I implore you to consider how you're using your stamina right now, because I had to spend a lot of days not only farming for additional skill materials, but also pre-farming out for Juyen because I wanted to use her as an additional potential DPS. Now, the issues that I have personally may not be ones that you have as well. However, based on the scaling and based on how many materials I need currently in order to level up my skills, in order to upgrade my W engine or upgrade my agent, it feels like pre-farming is definitely going to be way more important than we initially thought. To be clear, I'm definitely not saying that you shouldn't farm out for a disc drive set for your main DPSs, especially once you have the ability to get them to gold level. However, your levels on your weapons and your agents and unlocking core skills and additional damage built in because of their level are extremely important, and that's how I cleared most of the content in the game. speaking of the content that I unlocked, by the way, once you hit level 45, you do gain access to the end game activity in ZenlessZoneZero, which is the Withering Garden core. You might have seen your favorite streamer or other content creators try to fight and beat this piece of content, and the honest truth is that this activity is really hard. Now, I know for myself, I'm definitely not the greatest gamer of all time. However, if you take a look at all the modifiers that you can add onto your run, it kind of feels like you're playing a super hard mode, like no clothes, no gear, no weapon kind of run when it comes to specifically the Withering Garden. 11 out of 11 extreme intensity, as you can see, is quite intimidating, and you end up having very hard hitting mobs that also have a lot of health and kind of unavoidable or very annoying mechanics to deal with, which is what I think some players who want to enjoy a harder endgame may appreciate. Though in my honest opinion, I don't actually think this is that difficult as opposed to just having enemies that hit harder and have more HP. Now, I might as well show off the achievements or the things that I do have completed right now in case you're curious where I am in the game or what I'm able to clear now that I'm level 50. And the answer is, once I hit level 60 on my agents and Internet level 50 on my account, I was able to S rank most of the Shiyu defenses. And as you can see, the two teams that I'm running right now is Ellen, Lycone, and Sukaku whenever there's an ice team. And whenever I have the ability to run electric or not fight against an electric resistant team, I'll be using a disorder team with Grace, Rena, and Piper. To be clear, I didn't unlock anything new as I hit level 50 outside of reaching the legendary proxy level and these new changes to farming. This is the state of the farming, the materials that you can get, and all the different activities that are unlocked for you as you're level 50. As we conclude this portion, there is something that I want to mention and comment about as someone that is now level 50 and has pretty much completed all of the weekly or activities that you would basically be challenged by in ZenlessZoneZero. And that's the fact that ZenlessZoneZero is definitely a tough game. And although I initially thought that, oh, well, once I hit level 60, I feel like everything will be a breeze, a lot of the content is still very difficult because unlike in a game like WUA or unlike in other gacha games that I've seen, a lot of the scaling of the damage on the characters in ZenlessZoneZero are percentage based, or they'll make you start an encounter with like 0 HP, which is something that I haven't seen in other gacha games that I'm playing currently. And that makes ZenlessZoneZero a bit more uncomfortable when I'm playing it, and it kind of keeps me on edge, which is kind of a good thing if you're someone that likes a challenge, or if you're like me and you're trying to keep up with chat, make content, and do this all at the same time. It's quite frustrating. However, I don't think that's a bad thing. Now, I'd love to go more in depth about this. However, I'll probably end up making a full 200-hour, my full experience completing everything in ZenlessZoneZero video after I've completed all the goals that I already have set out for myself, including clearing Shiyu Defense 7 at S and also clearing level 11 of the Withering Garden, all without having any mindscapes in my 5 stars, by the way. Once all these goals are achieved, I'll probably make a more comprehensive review. And I apologize because I know I keep talking about reaching the end game, which it does feel like you do reach the end game once you have gear, but the further and further along we get, the more and more levels we get. I do want to keep my opinion updated and fresh, just so I'm not blindly preaching as someone that hit level 35 and feels like they know the end game. Opinions change, and that's okay. In any case though, guys, that's going to be it for this video. This is everything that changed at level 50 and some of my thoughts about the combat and what the end game feels like. In truth, my dailies have not changed whatsoever. I apologize if I forgot to mention that as well, but the activities that I'm farming out right now do feel a little bit different because now it feels like, especially now I've hit level 50, I need to farm way more for ascension materials and also for Denny's. But that's speaking as someone that has been refreshing and is trying to gear multiple characters at the same time. This will likely not be the same experience that you have, and you'll likely end up farming for things like either W Engine EXP, maybe character EXP, or maybe skill enhancements. That's going to be it for this video though, guys. Thanks again for watching. If you enjoyed today's content, make sure to like, comment, turn on the notification bell, and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Stay safe, stay healthy. Check out the rest of my socials. Good night.